What is up, all of you beautiful nerds from around the world? I'm Josh. This is the Den of Nerds, and this is another edition of Fan Chats. This is just where I hang out with you guys. We talk about some of our favorite nerdy things that are going on in the world. If you looked at the thumbnail, if you looked at the title of the video, then you will know this video is all about DC's Superman problem. I've been covering this a little bit here, talking about what's going on with DC when it comes to Superman. And so that is indeed what we're going to talk about today. What's up, everybody coming into the chat? How you guys doing? So for everybody on the replay, the way this is going to work is I'm going to talk about some of the news that's out there today about the Superman show coming in from CW, which is pretty interesting to me. And we're going to talk, of course, about the Henry Cavill situation when it comes to the DC extended universe, and all sorts of things like that. So we're going to get into the Superman of it all. And of course, we'll get into Q&A very quickly. Super chats are definitely welcome. They help the channel out. They help me out. I will answer every single super chat that comes in. I mean, unless it's like an absolutely ridiculous question. But yeah, in most cases, I'll answer it. But we're going to do a lot of stuff, just answering questions with anybody. So if you don't have any loot, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Just drop some messages in the chat, and we will get to them. Okay. So first, let me talk about this story. What's going on? Oh yeah, everybody like the stream if you could as you come in and drop a little like action on there. Girls with Sabers always on it. Yo, real quick too before we get into the Superman stuff. Girls with Sabers. This is kind of interesting. So a lot of people have been hitting me up about your content. And I find it so funny because they're always like, if you've never heard of Girls with Sabers, you should definitely check them out. But anyway, they said this, and little do they know, we have a very tight knit force connection, Girls with Sabers and myself. So I just find that pretty cool. I'm sure you guys will know why. But yeah, so let's get into this, guys. So one thing I want to talk about, the story that just broke. This is the one thing I want to talk about here that's kind of interesting. I really want to get everyone's opinion about this. The thing that's cool about fan chats is, guys, this is legit just us hanging out. Like, this is just us hanging out. I am so curious what you guys are thinking about some of this stuff when it comes to Superman, when it comes to the DC movies, the DC shows, and different things like that. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing what you guys think about this. But I don't know if you've heard this or not, but there is a report out there from Fandom Wire that suggests that CW is trying to do a Superman show. Now, this would be with the Tyler Hoechlin Superman that's on the Supergirl show. And if you have not seen the picture of him in the black suit Superman outfit, it's on the thumbnail, but that actual picture is with him and Grant Gustin and Stephen Amell. Crazy, man. The crossover this year is going to be called Elseworlds, I believe, and it's going to have something to do with that Superman, and you've got you also have to do with that Batwoman, Katie Kane, and man, I am super excited about it. But yeah, so they're thinking about doing the Superman show, and in this story from Fandom Wire, it also talks about how one of the reasons that they are able to do this is because, yes, indeed, Warner Brothers does not seem to be very interested in the Henry Cavill Superman or the Ben Affleck Batman. It really seems like, and I know I've been talking about this a good bit on the channel. You know, there's reports in the last like month or so have been kind of wacky here, but it really does appear that Warner Brothers does not think they can make a Superman movie work on the screen, that there's just really not that much interest in Superman on the screen anymore. So I'm interested to hear what everybody thinks about that. Do you think, guys, that it's that there's like Superman can't work on the silver screen? You know what I mean? Like, is that what's going on here? Let me know what you're thinking about that in the comment section. But yeah, so this is a thing, guys, where like DC proper or whatever, like I guess Warner Brothers overall, they will tell like Greg Berlanti and everybody over there at the CW universe, like, hey, you cannot use this character because we have plans for them in the movie, and it all has to do with not confusing audiences, right? So I don't know if you know, but I believe it was after season 2 or season 3 of Arrow, they knew they were going to do the Suicide Squad movie. Now there was a Suicide Squad and a Deadshot in Arrow, and he was actually awesome. And I liked the Waller that they had. I liked it all. I thought it was really good. I'm a big fan of the CW shows. But Warner Brothers told them, "Yo, Greg, you can't be doing this anymore. You can't be having Deathstroke in your show anymore." And they literally got rid of that. They got rid of that show. Hang on one second, I want to adjust my light. A little blown out there. And they literally got rid of them because of the pressure from the movies, right? And so, man, it really does feel like if this story is to be believed, and if they are going to go the route of having the CW Superman, then Warner Brothers probably is not doing the Superman movie anytime soon. It really does feel like this whole debacle with Henry Cavill is true, and they're really not going to be doing any Henry Cavill Superman. So I find that pretty interesting. And I think there's also some precedence for this too. Like if you look at the CW shows, they've done this before, where they will introduce a character. Like Flash himself was actually introduced on a two-parter crossover. Well, I guess it wasn't a crossover; it was just a cameo on Arrow originally, right? And so that was the start to that character. And yeah, see, Wayne White knows. Yeah, man, that Suicide Squad was tight. Um, but yeah, so I think it's possible that they will do this Superman show, and they're trying to like gauge the reaction. Like I said, I really believe that the reason we never got the Superman show was because they were focused on Superman in the movies, and they didn't want to have two competing Superman. Have you guys seen the Tyler Hoechlin Superman on Supergirl? Because he's awesome. He's really cool, and I love Henry Cavill. Like I actually really like Henry Cavill Superman, but the Superman that we get in the Arrowverse is a lot more like the Superman that you get from the comics. Okay, so he's a lot more of the Boy Scout. He's a lot more like that, which some people really like. Some people prefer the newer Superman, the postmodern take that we get with Henry Cavill. Um, so yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Have you seen that Superman? What do you think? I really like him, and I'd be very excited to get. Yeah, Dean Cain was awesome for sure. What's up, Heather Long? Shout out to the Patreons in here. Shout out to the Patreons. You got to give the love to the Patreons because they give the love to us. Yes, his relationship. I agree. His relationship is so good. So, look, you got to take this. You got to take this report with a grain of salt. You never know if this is actually going to happen. Like if they will actually do this show. I think the only silver lining, if the Warner Brothers studio is not going to be doing Batman or Superman on the big screen anytime soon, which we hear a lot of stuff about um the Matt Reeves Batman movie, but like where's the stuff about that? You know what I mean? I kind of feel like, especially with everything that's really getting shaken up lately, that he might not be as interested in doing that movie anymore. So if they don't do that, the only silver lining is that we might get Batman and Superman in the Arrowverse, which would be absolutely amazing. And I also think it would be a really cool way to sort of reinvigorate interest in these shows, because even The Flash had like a shaky season last year. And I mean, Legends is always great, but it's really like popcorn fun. Arrow's kind of been wavering on and off. Supergirl, I mean, like I just can't get into Supergirl as much as I try. Like I liked season 2 much better than season 1, but still it just didn't exactly do it for me. There's some really cool stuff going on in there, but it doesn't like hold me as, like a serial. Um so maybe this could be a good way to sort of reinvigorate the interest in the Greg Berlanti Arrowverse kind of thing. But I mean, what do you guys think? Do you guys want a Superman show? If we're only going to get Superman on the show, would that disappoint you? Let me know. Like let's talk about this a little bit, cuz I'm very interested in here. Infinity War says Superman TV show would be great. Just use the Arrowverse in the movies. Thank you. So here's another that brings up another question here. And guys, continue to let me know your thoughts. Let's just chill. Let's hang out and talk about this. But why do you think that the Arrowverse gets this stuff so right and the DC movies can't seem to do it? Why do you think that is? Because it's so fascinating to me, because when Arrow first started, like Berlanti and all that, like Arrow's a big departure from his comic book counterpart. Oliver Queen, in like the first episode, he like snaps the dude's neck. No one can know my secret. It was very vigilante, and it was also in season 1 very much like a soap opera, Like it was soap opera as hell. And I would always say to people like Arrow season 1 was like a guilty pleasure of mine. But then season 2 like legit gets so good that I didn't have to I was actually pumped to tell people about it. Season 2 of Arrow is incredible. Budget planning. Yeah, those are good. Those are good ideas there. Be cool as long as it stays true to the comic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you. I get you. Passionate in the movies that people are interested in money and control. Koyos? How do I say your name there, bro? Ronan. Koios. Koios? Koios Ronan has a very good point where he says, because the shows have creators who are passionate and the movies have people who are only interested in money and control of content creators. So I think he's onto something there because at the end of the day, the Hollywood system is kind of like a corrupt system. The Hollywood system is all about money. You know what I mean? When you look at some of the stuff that's done to the DCEU, because I think when I think about the DCEU, Special K Ronan, love it. When I think about the DCEU, I think that there was a lot of mistakes made. Like, so let's just take it back to the beginning here. I think Man of Steel. So I personally really like the Man of Steel movie, but I never thought of it as a Superman movie. I never thought of it as definitely didn't think of it as the start to a shared universe. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, Man of Steel was like an Elseworld or like a postmodern take, and I really liked it. And then Warner Brothers sort of retroactively made that movie the start to their shared universe. That was not the plan. They at the time were looking at all the money that Marvel was making, everything that was going on in the MCU. Because remember, and a lot of people forget this, the trouble with DC films actually has a lot more to do with Nolan. Now, we all love Nolan. We love Nolan. And we love those movies. But guys, while Nolan was working on those movies, he took 3 years to make Dark Knight, and he took 4 years, 4 more years to do Dark Knight Returns. So that's 7 years in a gap for 2 movies. Now those movies were amazing, especially Dark Knight, one of the best comic book movies of all time. Absolutely amazing. But at that same time, Warner Brothers was definitely like, we're going with this director vision. This is it. And yeah, so while that was going on, the Marvel Cinematic Universe was getting set up and started to really creep and start making a bunch of money. And then right around that time, the Avengers happened right around the time of Dark Knight Returns, I believe. I could be wrong. Avengers was what, 08? No, or 2012. I don't know. I should have researched that before I got on here. But yeah, the whole point is when DC was sort of doubling down on the Nolan stuff, that's when the Warner Brothers, or rather the Marvel stuff, started to really pick up, right? And so Warner Brothers kind of shifted. And what people say when they say, "Oh, it's greedy people," like it's greedy people in Hollywood that are ruining these things. 2012. Thank you, Mike Ryan. Yeah. So when these things are happening and when a studio makes a retroactive decision, because I don't, if you guys remember the lead up to Batman v Superman, because Batman v Superman is really what broke the DCEU, which was funny because it technically was the thing that was supposed to start the DCEU. Because, as I stated, Man of Steel was not designed that way. It was not designed to be that way, and so the sequel to Man of Steel, like Warner Brothers starts like talking to Zack Snyder, and they're basically like, hey, like let's do a little bit of Batman in your movie. Let's how about we sprinkle a little Batman? I'd really like to do a shared universe. Look what's going on over at Marvel. And Zach is the one thing I want to say about Zach, and I want to ask you guys too, because we got to talk about the Snyder cut. We got to talk about Snyder. Um, Lance Corporal Kitty, super cynical about Hollywood studio and general generating finances. I agree. I am too. Um, but yeah, so Snyder was like a good little Boy Scout, and they said, "Hey, man, let's sprinkle a little Batman on there." Before you knew it, Batman v Superman was created. Batman's name is before Superman. It's no longer Superman's movie. And if you look at the extended cut of BVS, which is so good, guys, the extended cut of Batman v Superman is not only a watchable movie, an enjoyable movie, but one that makes sense for the characters. There's so much good stuff with Clark in that extended cut. It's crazy. I cannot believe that they chopped that thing up. And when you look at the difference between the extended cut and the one that you got in theaters, the biggest thing that they cut out was moments with Clark Kent. And the thing is, this movie was supposed to be Man of Steel 2. It was supposed to be Cavill's sequel. And they sprinkle a little Batman before you know it. It might as well be a Batman movie. It really is a Batman movie, you know. They took all the Clark stuff out. It broke my heart. And those moves at that time, those moves to do that, I think were studio driven. So the studio, Kevin Tsujihara and all these different names that we've heard when it comes to Warner Brothers, these were the people that were like, no, man, this is a Batman movie now. No, it has to be under this amount of time. We want this feel. Hey, that looks great. Cut out a half hour. All of these decisions. And so this is what happens, man. They cut these things up and they just think that the audiences will just accept it. You know what I mean? And so I think that's sort of the path that the DCEU took, right? It retroactively, and this was studio interference, retroactively decided Man of Steel is the beginning of our shared universe. What? Like, I love Man of Steel, but you're gonna start a shared universe with that film? It's a postmodern take. He literally snaps Zod's neck at the end of the movie. You know what I mean? A lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people didn't like that. In fact, let me know in the comment section. I really want to know. I'm checking out the chat. I want to know. Did you guys like that or not like that when Superman destroyed Zod? Snapped his neck. What do you think? Let me know. Were you okay with it? Were you not okay with it? Like I said, I was okay with it because hashtag not my Superman. I didn't think that was really soups. I thought like this is an Elseworld. I could get down. You know what I mean? That's not Christopher Reeves. That's like a version of Superman that would take place in the modern era. It's really interesting. Maybe he would do that. Heather Long says, in the context of the film, it worked, but it wasn't Superman. Wayne White says, love the super snap. I've never heard of it referred to as a super snap, but that's dope. I'm gonna use that. Marvel vs. DC train wreck via huge studio deal, a la Sony Marvel. Mike, elaborate that on that in the chat a little bit. Wayne White says it wasn't Superman. No, but it was badass. Jim Richardson says, nope, Superman and Batman don't kill. Justice League would have been a lot better without Superman. I want to see Superman in a movie. Soup's post Justice League because the Superman smile. I know. Well, that's another weird thing about this. So let's move on from this. So you have, pardon me. You have Batman v Superman, and here's where things really like DC, man, and Warner Brothers. I think this is where you really just like confuse the hell out of me. Like I was like, what are you guys doing? Now, mind you, I'm a huge Zack Snyder fan, so let's just put that out there. I'm a huge Zack Snyder fan. Like I said, I liked Man of Steel. I liked his take on things. I thought the theatrical cut of Batman v Superman was laughably bad. Like laughably bad. And I'm one of those people that thinks that the Martha moment is dumb. Beyond belief dumb. And I've had this argument with people that really like the DCEU and think that moment's fantastic. And I just like I don't get it. Now things are subjective, film's subjective, like you can feel however you want. Yo, take care, Wayne. Thanks for hanging out, man. We're gonna do another one of these Saturday morning, just so you know, another fan chat Saturday morning. Yeah. So okay, Batman v Superman, whack. That moment was whack. Didn't like it at all. So Warner Brothers geniusly, they counted their chickens before it hatched, basically, and they were like, they had 2 weeks from when that box office first opened to when they were supposed to start filming Justice League. Okay, so they got 2 weeks to make this decision. They see the 65-70% drop off from week 1 to week 2. They see all the vitriol online. They see all the hate. And the thing is, we know that they were aware of this because, hit me up in the chat and see if you guys remember this. Do you remember it was literally about a week or two into the shooting of Justice League where they brought all of those journalists to the set? They bring all these journalists, a lot of journalists they picked that gave scathing reviews of Batman v Superman. Scathing reviews of Batman v Superman, and they're like, and they invite these people out um to London to check it out, to check out the set of Justice League. Do you guys remember that? Because it's so crazy. Like, um, they did that specifically because they knew they were having a problem, like on the PR level. They knew they were having a public relations problem, and they wanted to sort of win back the interest and the trust of a lot of these people, and it worked to a degree. I remember one of the guys that really bought back in was Steve Frosty Weintraub from Collider. He was like all in back in there, and I wanted to give the film a fair shake, and it's like you want to give it a fair shake, but ultimately, I think that Warner Brothers should have made the decision right then and there. Uh, Hold on, maybe we shouldn't be doing this Justice League thing. Now, when it comes to Suicide Squad is an interesting case because the movie is enjoyable, but really not good, like in any way. I don't think so. It's a weird thing where it's passable. It's a movie that like I always describe this, and it's like a Netflix B level movie, or like when I'm hanging out with my cousin. Like, do you ever do a long car ride with your cousins? I guess this would be back in the day because now with smartphones we can watch whatever we want. But like you got the DVD player, the little portable one, and it's just you got some crappy DVDs, but it'll entertain you. It'll entertain you. It's not going to be great, but it'll entertain you. That's what I felt like Suicide Squad was. And I was like, yo, like this is really what they got going on. Now, Wonder Woman I thought was a very special movie. I love Wonder Woman, but that third act falls apart completely. So, man, they haven't even really had a great movie. In my opinion, the first movie was the best. That was Man of Steel. Man of Steel was not even supposed to be the start to their shared universe. And so is like just a continuous strand of bad decisions, reactionary decisions when it comes to the DCEU, and then taking Zack off of it. And the thing is, uh, let's do this show because they tried to hide that comment from you, Heather, because you said the B word. Uh, Jim Richardson says Wonder Woman's overrated. Get him, guys. Get Jim. No, I'm just kidding. Don't be. He's allowed to have his opinion. I think it's a little overrated too. Yeah, yo, Infinity War like Man of Steel. That's cool. Zero Ravager. Let's talk about that too, because that's really cool, man. We'll get into Q&A here in just a second. But yeah, so that is, in my opinion, like where the DCEU went wrong. The Justice League thing was a complete debacle. I can't believe it. Like, look, Zach and the tragedy, family tragedy of his daughter, absolutely tragic. But like, you really got to wonder how much of the reports that he walked away because of the tragedy, how much of that is true? Because first of all, he went and shot a film. So he shot a short film with friends and family, while he was grieving, while Joss was trying to patchwork together Justice League. Um, Zack Snyder shot a short film. So was he really not able to shoot? And then if you look at all the stuff he's been sharing lately, he's been sharing a lot of photos and stuff from the film. Like there was the concept stuff that he was going to have a scene in Justice League with Ares fighting young Darkseid. Dude, like that whole sequence we saw with the Green Lantern that dies and the Earth's the armies of men and the Amazons and Atlanteans, all that. Yo, that was going to be way bigger and much grander in scale. And I will say this, the one thing that I think is like DC should have just decided. They should have been like, are we going to ride with Zack or are we not going to? So when they go to make Justice League, they shouldn't have been trying to like mess with this guy's vision, mess with this guy's stuff. In my opinion, when you look at the director's cut of BVS, it's way better. Trust this guy, man. Put 20 more minutes in your movie. Yeah, you won't be able to get all of these different show times, but you probably would have made, I'm telling you, by cutting that 20 minutes out, they lost like $500 million because it's insane. It's insane that you have Batman and you have Superman, the most widely known characters, the biggest comic book characters of all time, and you put them both in a movie fighting each other and you don't make $1 billion? That's a joke. That is a joke. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And so now we're at this place where like they're carrying that logic into the future of the DCEU. They're gonna get rid of Henry Cavill Superman. They're not gonna do a Henry Cavill Superman film anymore because they think there's just no interest for it. Did Batman v Superman? That's your lesson that you learned from Batman v Superman. That's the lesson. Well, maybe people just don't like Batman and Superman. No, you idiots. Look, clearly Greg Berlanti and everybody over at CW, they know. They're like, no, trust me, people like Superman. Give me. If you're not going to use Superman, we're going to use Superman. And so that is just such a weird situation, guys, when it comes to the Superman show. So that's pretty much all my thoughts. I know I ranted there a little bit. I rambled and ranted a little about the DCEU, but man, DCEU gets me fired up. Okay, so let's get into Q&A. Start dropping some questions down in there, guys. Let's have some fun. And I want to answer your questions. I want to talk about what you guys want to talk about because that's what we do here at the Den of Nerds. Yes, Heather Long, that's a great point. So Heather Long says, look, Deadpool came out and suddenly the studios are like, hey, make it rated R and let them cuss. That's the lesson that they learn. Exactly. That is the Hollywood way. The Hollywood way is like, oh, this worked. Let's take a surface level examination of that. The first thing that was different must be the thing. It must be the thing that made that successful. I mean, look, I was afraid that people would think that about the Wonder Woman thing and the Black Panther thing. It's like, look, the reason that, I mean, Wonder Woman works not only because it's a female led movie, but because it like makes sense. And there's a bunch of nerds out there that have been waiting for I've been waiting for a Wonder Woman movie forever. I love that character. Diana's amazing. You know what I mean? She's absolutely amazing character. And so it would be a mistake for them to take that example and just be like, well, now we just need female-led superhero movies. Do you know what I mean? And we'll have to wait and see what goes on with Captain Marvel. But honestly, I think Captain Marvel will probably be safe because the MCU is literally like bulletproof. It's like ironclad at this point. And it just brings so many people in. It's the same thing that happened like with the Black Panther thing. So Black Panther, great movie. Not, I wouldn't even say great. I would say it's a very good movie. It's a very good movie. Um, but obviously, it's culturally impactful because you have like Black excellence. You just have an amazing Black cast, an amazing Black writer, director. You know what I'm saying? Like it embodies Black excellence. And so if you're Black, that's obviously something you're going to be interested in. As a hardcore nerd, I'm super interested in T'Challa. I love T'Challa, Wakanda. Plus, you have the Marvel thing going for you, so it's like a perfect sea of things. But Marvel earned that. You know what I mean? You can't come out the gate with that. It's just like they didn't come out of the gate with Doctor Strange. It's the same thing. Do you think let's take Jamal Shelton's question here. Do you think the DCEU should have? Oh crap, I lost the question. Uh-oh. Sorry, the camera might shake a little bit. Do you think the DCEU should have solo character movies and then come out with another Justice League movie? I think that's a much better way to go about it. For sure. We're gonna have to wait and see. I mean, Shazam, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see what Shazam does. I think Shazam's gonna do well. And the question is, though, does it tonally match like anything? Like, is there anything I want to see with Shazam, or is Shazam its own thing? And I almost feel like secretly the sleeper hit here is going to be the Joker movie. And I almost want to see like a version of like Batman and the whole DCEU probably in that vein. But in general, yeah, they should probably do solo movies, but it almost feels like it's too late. You know what I mean? Like Aquaman, and I was just saying this on the show earlier this week when we were talking about the Superman problem. Aquaman might get hurt because of the narrative around Cavill Superman, like literally, and the fact that the Flash movie is being pushed back, and everyone's like, "Well, the DCU doesn't matter." So that thing, that draw, that investment that fans make into the films, which the MCU handles so well and gives, rewards you for doing that. You don't have that when it comes to DC. So you're not going to get that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Eh, I almost feel like this is the reason. I think the thing that really frustrates me so much is like they need to quit fence sitting, and they have to stop acting. It's almost like Warner Brothers is like, hey, we clearly chased the Marvel method, but now that didn't work, so we're gonna act like we never did that, and we're definitely not gonna act like that's our thing. You know what I mean? So it's like they're playing down continuity. They don't even call it the DCEU. They're just playing down continuity. And it's like, yo, you sold us on the expectations of continuity. We didn't come over here with that. You sold us on that. You know what I mean? Sorry. I feel like these answers are gonna get ranty. I don't want to be ranty though. Let's get take some more questions. I answer your question. You ask me a question, I answer. Yo, AT chat, what is up? How you doing? The DCFU. Meat Grinder, Mike. Hey, that's a great name, by the way. No problem, Jamal. Thanks for hanging out, man. Yo, Zero Ravenger says Aquaman looks awesome. I agree. I think it looks awesome as hell. I'm probably gonna have a great time in that theater, man. Yeah, I think it's gonna be great. But I just feel like I almost wish like if Aquaman is as good as I think it's gonna be, I just wish that had been first. You know what I mean? Ooh, this is a good question from Heather Long. What hero would you like to see DC put on the big screen and do right and not currently or previously a project? Well, okay, so the one, this is kind of a cheating answer, but I really am interested in the New Gods, the Jack Kirby stuff. Look, to be honest with you, I don't think Ava DuVernay is a great director. Um, like Selma's a good movie, but it's not. I don't think it's necessarily the direction that makes it incredible. Uh, and I haven't seen A Wrinkle in Time, but that was like a bomb. You know what I mean? But regardless, I'm still excited to see what she does with the New Gods. New Gods are amazing, so I really like the New Gods. I like the Question a lot. Um, obviously, you almost want to go away from like the Batman, Superman type of stuff, right? But man, a live action version of All Star Superman would be incredible. And yeah, that's kind of I've always gravitated towards Grifter too. I like Grifter a lot. I think he's an interesting character. Um, I think the Authority and Apollo and why am I blanking on Midnighter? Do you guys know who Apollo and Midnighter are? Because they're awesome, and they're also a gay couple. So what's really interesting here is that they're a gay couple whose love, the depiction of their relationship and their love is honestly some of the best actual romantic writing I've ever encountered in comics. Like it's like believable the way they fight together, the way that they interact together. It's very interesting. And the characters are just badass, dude. Like Midnighter is a badass. Like, he's like a Batman type character, but has all these implants and stuff inside of him. He's a badass. And then Apollo is essentially like Superman. Like they did essentially like what those characters are Batman and Superman if they actually were in love. It's very interesting. What are my thoughts on Henry Cavill as Geralt? I don't think he's too young. I don't think he's too young. I'm very excited to see it. The thing that's cool is he is a big sweaty. Cavill is a huge Superman fan. In fact, I don't know if you guys know this. He almost missed his audition for the Superman role because he was playing World of Warcraft. Cavill's a big old nerd, man. And I know he's very excited to be playing this role. The Witcher is great, 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 great stuff. Um, Great game, great story. So yeah, I think he's gonna be fine. Yeah, he's a huge Star Wars fan for sure. Yo, let's answer Meat Grinder's question a little bit off topic, but what do you think Episode 9 title would be for Star Wars? I think it will be Spark of Hope because FA and The Last Jedi had their titles within the crawl. I definitely think it's something about hope or a new order. I like a new order. You know what I mean? And I actually believe what's funny is so we speculate about Star Wars a lot over here, you know what I mean? And the one thing I would say is that I actually think there's a very good chance that the First Order will remain the winning side of this thing after Episode 9, and that we'll go back to a place within the galaxy. Oh my goodness, Kate! Somebody stop this girl, Kate, with the super chat. My dream actor to play Superman. Ooh, that's interesting. Kate, let me get back to that question in just a second. And you're so stinking sweet. Thank you for the super chat. Um, okay, so we're gonna talk dream actor for Superman in a moment here. Um, so I think that we're gonna get a place after Episode 9 where the First Order is still in charge. I really believe that that's Disney's plan. But I still think that Ben Solo or Kylo Ren can be redeemed. So I think that like Ben will be redeemed, but like the First Order will remain kind of in control. But that's just me. And like honestly, some new information could come out where that changes. But I almost feel like a new order could apply to a new Jedi order and also the new order, which will be the Order of the Galaxy and all that. Dream actor for Superman. I was telling people, Kate, I really like the Tyler Hoechlin, the guy that plays on the CW show. I also really like Tom Welling. I thought Tom Welling Superman was awesome. Um ah man, why am I blanking on this dude's name? I wish I could think of this guy's name. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be really interesting. You know what? I'm gonna take this opportunity just because Kate asks about the dream actor for Superman. Let's talk a little bit about the Michael B. Jordan thing. I really want to know, what do you guys think about the Michael B. Jordan thing? Because here's the thing. Like, this is an interesting, touchy thing for people. I would love to see a Black Superman story. Like, to me, that's a very interesting story. Now, the thing about Superman is, like, he's so okay. So first of all, contextually, this is written by two Jewish kids, um, and I don't really know how much the Kansas upbringing was a big part of Simon and Schuster's thing, like when they were coming up with the guy or whatever, right? But essentially, what you have to believe here is that this is mostly just white people back then writing this character, and they're white, they're thinking of white characters, and look, it just happens. It's contextual. Like people really get on J.K. Rowling's back a lot because she made Hermione black in the play for some of the Harry Potter plays, and she's done other things like this too, made characters black sort of retroactively, and she says in her mind that she's like making up for like her own unconscious biases when she writes. And as a writer myself, like I get that, I understand that, um, and so you know, is it time maybe that we examine what an African American who would be Superman, the type of stuff that they would deal with. Do you know what I mean? Because to me, I think that's a very interesting perspective. Uh, it would likely be very different than, the Kansas farm boy, white boy. But at the end of the day, like, maybe it wouldn't be that much different. You know what I mean? There would be different ways that people would treat Clark. But what if Superman was black, what would that do to the world? Do you know what I mean? Like, how would the world view that? You know what I mean? Because, obviously there would be some people that would be very against it. There are people that don't like Superman in comics anyways because he's alien. I feel like if he's alien and black, it's like a lot of people that, aren't the best kind of people would have a problem with that. So I think it's interesting. Now, do I think that they should just like race change for the sake of race change? It's like going back to that Black Panther thing. Like if Warner Brothers thinks that they're like if they're just doing this to try to capitalize on this and make money, and it's like shallow and hollow, and it's no good, then like obviously screw that. That's not what I'm not down for that. You know what I mean? But equally, I'd totally be down to see a Black Superman story. I think it could be interesting. Yeah, I don't know about Jordan as Superman, to be completely frank. Um, but he's a good actor. Yeah, Zero Ravager says Zod was black on Krypton in the sci-fi show. Your take on that being in the DCEU? It could be really cool. I didn't finish the season 1 of Krypton, but I liked Krypton and I did like how they did that as well. And just in general, the way that the Zods were like very badass, including the women, you know what I mean? Like it, because it just makes sense. Like that's the thing. Like it's the same thing with the Amazons. It's like, yeah, of course they're badass. They're the Amazons. You know what I mean? As opposed to like what you see with like Battlefield 5, where they put a female in the lead role with a robot arm in World War II, and it's like, what? Like that that's a stretch, you know what I mean? But I think especially when it comes to complete total fantasy that's not based off anything, like, man, I loved what they did with those badass women in Krypton. I thought it was really cool. How did Krypton go, Zero Ravager? Let me know, cuz I kind of want to watch it again. I kind of want to check it out. Um but yeah, wacky question from Ella. Let's see here. If you could have control of the DCEU and have executive decisions, what changes would you make to it? Casting, film choices, etc., etc. So first of all, reboot, complete and total reboot. Then what you do is you have to figure out the fabric of the universe. Like you have to spend time figuring out the fabric of that world. Like it like there's little things that trigger people in the DCEU. Like Clark Kent doesn't know who Bruce Wayne is when he pulls up to the party. What? That's dumb. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff that you would need to figure stuff out. And then I think you should, like, you could start with Justice League. The thing is, I don't think it's so much of a thing where you need to have oh, definitely Mike Grinder, Meat Grinder Mike, get out of here, Joker from Suicide Squad. Bye, Girls with Sabers. You guys are amazing. Keep doing all the content. Guys, if you love Star Wars, go check out Girls with Sabers. They do some really, really great work. But yeah, so that would be the first thing, is like you come up with a plan. And as I was saying, you can do a movie that's a group movie. Have you guys ever seen the animated Justice League movie, where they're all first learning of each other, and the Green Lanterns, like, you know, who's this? Or I've heard of the Superman guy. I've heard of the Batman guy. Didn't know if you were real. Like, you got to set that up, have it be consistent, have it be well thought out, and the meeting of them can work. Um, but yeah, I think that's sort of the best way to go about it. If I had control, reboot, restart, have a vision for your universe. You know, figure that out. I would probably have the heroes already established, but perhaps them not actually have been put together yet. A lot of like the New 52 Justice League. I think that's a good way to do it. Yes, yes, Kate. Thank you, Kate. Oh my goodness, Kate is keeping this channel together. If you guys could do me a favor and drop a like on this right now, that would be amazing. It helps the stream out, helps share it out to other people. It tells YouTube we're doing a good job. So if you could drop a like on this one, that would be much appreciated. Oh, and by the way, I want to say this too. For the fan chat that we're going to do on Saturday morning, which come back Saturday morning, I think we'll go 11 a.m. I have actual nerd cards. Okay? So these right here are actual nerd cards, which we give out when we go to conventions and we ask people the nerd card questions. And you'll notice we do the nerd card questions at the end of almost every video, not every stream, but at the end of every video. So what I'm gonna do on Saturday is I'm gonna go through a bunch of different actual trivia questions, nerd card questions, and the first person to get it correct in the chat will win a nerd card question. And I'm gonna mail these out to, like, I don't know, 5 to 10 people that are that answer that come hang out. So come hang out on Saturday if you want to get an actual nerd card from the den. Could be real cool. Yes, Injustice movie would be amazing. Dude, the story in Injustice, guys, if you guys are big DC fans, go check out online. You can find the cinematics, all the cinematics from Injustice and Injustice 2 put together. The story is so good. The story is amazing. It plays off of the things we already know about these characters. It's crazy. So check it out. I highly recommend that. That's okay, Lance Corporal Kitty, because we're gonna do a lot of nerd of fan chats, and I want to try to give a lot of nerd cards away as well. Okay, so this is an interesting question. M Stonecheck asks, "What is to be expected with Aquaman with regards to the DCEU? Is it completely over, and are there just solo movies from now on?" So okay, so I don't know exactly how to answer that question. I really believe that the DCEU is over. I made the video. The DCEU is dead. When the resurfaced rumors of the Henry Cavill thing, look, I want to be wrong, but in my opinion, when you look at the movies that are out there right now, the thing about Aquaman, guys, that movie was greenlit and it was in production way before the Justice League came out. And so I remember even then, people were like, wow, they should probably just cancel that movie. You know what I mean? They should probably just cancel Justice League, or rather Aquaman after Justice League. And I didn't think that. I was like, nah, man, let it go, let it roll. So it'll be cool to see the movie, and I'm super excited about it. But I don't think it is going to attach at all to the DCEU. Like, I don't think there's going to be a post-credit scene. I don't think there's going to be nothing. I think it just focuses on this guy. And you know what else, too? Depending on how bombastic and crazy the movie is, it's going to run into that same comic book problem where you're like, okay, so the armies of the sea are coming up onto the land. Well, where the hell was Superman? You know what I mean? Where's the Justice League at? That's a problem. So I don't think that Aquaman is gonna do anything when it comes to the DCEU, which sucks because that's the same character in Justice League, right? Like we're not dumb. We know what's what. But I think that the only reason oh, Heather, am I ever looking forward to season 3 of Daredevil? It's gonna be hard to do that fan chat on Saturday morning because I'm just trying to binge that all night long. Oh, sorry guys. I saw a Daredevil 3 question. I got really excited. But yeah, so that's to answer your question. That M Stone check. That's my thing when it comes to Aquaman. Man, I really believe that yeah, they're not doing that anymore. Why need origin movies? We don't need any for the animated films. We enjoy them more than the live action. They can focus on good writing and good stories instead of explanations. I agree. So that's one of the things. This is coming in from Jose Verga or Vega rather. It's a really good point. It's like, why don't we just assume that the audience knows who these characters are and their interactions together? Like when you watch one of the animated movies, like you just know, like and then and they represent the characters from the comics. So when they say or do something, and you're like, oh yeah, that's totally something Diana would do. Oh man, yes, that's a Diana reaction. You know what I mean? Or oh man, yep, that's Clark. Damn it, Clark, why you always got to be like that? You know what I mean? Um, so that's kind of where I'm at with it, man. Like I agree with that sentiment. We should definitely be able to just rely upon them. And that's the thing that the MCU did, right? So nowadays when the MCU like Infinity War, look at Infinity War. Infinity War is a movie that you would have almost no idea what the hell was going on if you didn't watch all these other movies. Like I think your experience is super hurt if you don't understand it. And yet even within that movie, you can put it together. You know what I mean? Like you're like, "Oh, so this is that type of character, this is that type of character." But the real joy and the real reward that you get as a fan is them hanging out. You know what I mean? And knowing what that's like. Bye, Kate. Kate, we got to chat soon. I got to talk you out of all this craziness. Bye. Yo, I'm hella late, but this title. What? Yeah, so Anthony, you might want to watch the replay because I go over the thing. They're probably doing a Superman show on the CW. They have the Tyler Hoechlin Superman in the black suit at the end of or rather for the crossover event this year. So the crossover event's going to be called Elseworlds. It's going to have the Katie Kane Batwoman. It's going to have this black suited Superman. And the report right now is, and this came from some website. I got it right here. Let me see. Fandom Wire. This came from Fandom Wire. They are saying that the CW is trying to see how this is responded to by fans, and that they might actually put Superman in this show. Now, the reason that they'd be able to do this, because originally they wanted to do this, but Warner Brothers was like, no, we've got our Superman on the big screen. We don't want to confuse people. No Superman for you, Greg Berlanti. But what do we think's happening? Warner Brothers is done with Henry Cavill Superman, and so that opens the door up for the Tyler Hoechlin television show. It's bittersweet. It's bitter sweet. I know, right? The CW shows. How lucky is the CW for taking a chance on Greg and his crazy vision? Okay, don't worry. I have the power of the Force. I'm gonna use a Jedi mind trick on you. And no problem at all, Anthony, man. Thanks for hanging out, bro. No problemo. Guys, I'm probably going to go like 10, 15 more minutes. Hit me up with some questions. Would love to talk about some things that you guys want to talk about. Thanks again for hanging out in this live stream. Fan chats, man. It's where we just hang out together. We talk about some fun stuff. So hit me up with some last minute questions, and I'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I never even asked how the audio was, but I assumed it was good. People would probably complain if it wasn't, right? People would be like, bro, turn your audio up. You know, another thing that I really wish they would do with the DC movies is the multiverse. Why are we not doing the multiverse? Like, you know, you have this Superman, you have this Justice League, and then you can have meat grinder Mike, do I think that? Anthony's asking about Daredevil 3, boy. Yo, that's gonna be lit. But yeah, I just don't understand why they don't do multiverse stuff in the movies. But I'll get into these questions. So Meat Grinder Mike asked, I assume he means, do I wish Raylo was more obvious in The Last Jedi? No. I think that the way that the Raylo was handled in The Last Jedi was perfect. It's the best part of the movie. I think it's ambiguous enough that there's crazy people out there that can deny it. But it's right in the face of everyone that's been following the Raylo thing since The Force Awakens. So, oh, and Anthony, my thoughts on Daredevil 3. Get your popcorn, man. I am so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so glad that they're going back to their roots. By the way, guys, just a little note here. I don't know if you saw this, but they talked about how Netflix basically said they canceled Iron Fist. Okay, so Danny ran Iron Fist. We're no longer going to get solo Iron Fist shows, which sucks, but so does the show. So not that big of a loss. But somebody said, because of the Disney thing and the streaming service, people were like, yo, is Disney able to cancel these shows? Is that what's happening? No, that's not what's happening. Disney cannot force Netflix to stop doing these shows. As far as I know, and this was a statement made by somebody at Netflix today, it is up to us on whether or not we want to continue these shows or not. So the Netflix shows I don't think are going anywhere. But honestly, the only ones that are really, really good are Daredevil and Jessica Jones. Luke Cage season 2 was much better. I thought season 1 was okay. Like the first half was like good. Then they killed Cottonmouth, and I was like, what? And then it just goes off the rails at that point. But Daredevil, fire. I straight up binged DD season 1 and 2 for the third time. Good for you, brother. In the MCU, do you think that having Daredevil, Luke Cage, etc., would make a movie more enjoyable with more grounded characters alongside the really big guns? Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's definitely a way to handle that, right? There's this line in one of the old Frank Miller Daredevils where he's looking up at the Avengers, and he has some kind of an interaction with them, and like the way Daredevil's like talking about it, where he's like, I can feel his repulsors with the power to kill a man heat up. the tension in his face. You know what I mean? All these different things. And he's talking about like Thor, like closing his grip on his hammer, and he's basically just talking about how they're gods. And to the ground street level heroes, they are gods. And I do think that dynamic would be very interesting to play with. Yeah, that's a good point, Jose. Jose says he thought that Warner Brothers would have drawn all the fan base from the TV shows to the movies, mimicking Marvel, but through the TV series instead of standalone movies to develop characters. Yeah. Oh, you grew up in Hell's Kitchen? That's super cool, man. Isn't part of Hell's Kitchen now like kind of uptown? Isn't it kind of like uptown Manhattan area? I could be wrong. I don't know. How pumped are all of you guys for that though? I mean, Daredevil, man. Oof. So good. Definitely the best. Definitely the best show on the Netflix uh, for the Marvel stuff. Certainly. Mm. All right, I'll do just a couple of more questions. Thank you, the Mr. Guy Gamer. Thanks for hanging out, brother. Yeah, I've heard D'Onofrio is going to kill it. Kill it. Okay. Krista Joe says, "What if Warner Brothers did a franchise reboot after Shazam premieres by making Flashpoint, so we have the opportunity to get character development based on the franchises from the main Justice League? Would totally be down, but I just don't know if they're bold enough to make that decision. I mean, Warner Brothers is so reactionary. I feel like they're gun shy to do anything crazy. I mean, and I can't blame them. Like I said before, like the Batman v Superman thing, you have Batman and v Superman. It's like two of the best heroes of all time, the most notable, and it doesn't make $1 billion. I'd be gun shy too. But yeah, doing Flashpoint I thought would be the answer. In fact, I thought they should have streamlined Flashpoint. I thought Flashpoint, you know how Civil War was like Avengers 2.5? You know what I mean? Civil War, the way that they did that as Avengers 2.5, they should have done that with Flashpoint. Flashpoint should have been Justice League 1.5 and reset everything and then just gone with it. That would have been dope. But no. But no, they didn't. Thank you, Lance Corporal Kitty. You're amazing. Thank you so much. All right, guys, I'll do one more question and then we'll get out of here. Reminder too, Saturday morning, 11 a.m., we're doing another fan chat. I'm going to be giving out a ton of nerd cards, asking a bunch of trivia questions. So make sure you come back Saturday morning to hang out and do some more live streaming. Oh, great question. Special K Ronan. See what I did there? What are my thoughts on The Mandalorian having ties to Sabine and Ahsoka searching for Ezra? Like The Mandalorian is tasked by Bo-Katan to search for them? Yo, that would be dope. That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. So my thoughts on that in general. See you Sunday. See you Sunday, Jim. My thoughts on that in general is like, yes, please. Like, okay, so I love Ezra. Ezra's like probably one of my favorite Jedi ever. Just the unique way that he uses the Force. His relationship to Sabine, I think, is amazing. Sabine's a great character too. Like, you know, she's expressive. The trials of the dark saber and like realizing what she had to go through with her family, like a great character. And Ahsoka. I mean, like, how do I even need to say anything more? Ahsoka, you should be on board as soon as you hear Ahsoka. But I do think it would be interesting if the Gunslinger and the Mandalorian in general tied to this. I do think that would be cool. Um, but I think it would have to be a thing where, because you kind of don't. I really feel like personally for the show, you want ancillary stuff to inform and to have a nice backdrop that's very Star Warsy. So like one episode, the Imperial Remnant comes to Mandalore and tries to take over Mandalore, and it's like, yo, you were under Imperial rule, and then Mandalore's like, yo, screw you guys, you don't even exist anymore. The Empire isn't even real anymore. Um, that kind of stuff you want to have, but it can't be the main flavor of the show because you don't want to take away from the main character, from the Mandalorian. And the Mandalorian, I think, is going to be like a very interesting character, whether it's a guy or a girl. I think it's gonna be this character that is from Mandalore, or maybe holds up that I'm from Mandalore, and is trying to do the right thing, but has a questionable moral compass. Very classic, like Western cowboy hero. And so I would love for Ezra and for Sabine and for Ahsoka to have a place in the show. But I almost feel like in the pilot, which by the way, Dave Filoni's doing the pilot, so you never know, this could actually happen. But I think you could have Sabine be there and Ahsoka, like that moment where the ship comes down, Ahsoka's there, and we get a live action Ahsoka in that robe with the staff, and then they leave, and she she just has to give up the dark saber or whatever. Like that could be very intense. Like maybe the gunslinger shows back up on Mandalore as Sabine is leaving with Ahsoka. Could be really cool. I don't think it is the Pablo Pascal. Actually, I don't think that rumor is correct. Yeah, but dang, that would be really cool. I'm so excited for the Mandalorian. I think the Mandalorian is going to be absolutely amazing, but that's just me. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's Pablo Pascal. But there's plenty of good actors that it could be. I really hope Boba's alive. I hope Boba's alive, and he's like this old curmudgeon on Tatooine. You know what I mean? It'd be super cool. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this fan chat. Thank you guys so much for coming over, hanging out with us at the Den of Nerds. As I always say, guys, I hope you guys are having an awesome and nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you try to come back Saturday morning. If not, no big deal. Working on a cool Star Wars video for Star Wars Sunday, of course. So, yeah, that's going to do it, guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And, yeah, I'll see you guys soon, okay? Bye-bye.